So Joe Biden has announced that he's going to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court to replace Justice Stephen Breyer, who's retiring. Boy, has that announcement made the racists come out of the woodwork. Let's talk about it in today's video.
We know that what Joe Biden does best is placate to the radical element and the radical progressive base of his party that he believes is the majority. I believe he's incorrect in that. I believe that they're actually the minority. But I'm wondering the kind of justice that he would nominate. Now, again, I'm sure it will be, as Guy said, a black woman. You know, he's got a dedication to that. We saw how well that worked out with Kamala Harris.
Hi, I'm Mike Greiner. I'm a lifelong Democratic activist who's concerned about the direction our country is taking. If you share my concerns, maybe you could like this video, subscribe to this channel, even click that little bell that will notify you when I post something new. So like most white people my age, I grew up in suburban America, mostly exposed to other white people of similar backgrounds to my own. It was only when I got to college that I started to meet other people who were different from me. People of different background, different race, different sexual orientation. And the truth be told, it was a real eye-opening experience. Although I'd always considered myself a progressive person, to see the challenges that society places in front of these people for no reason other than the fact that they don't share the color of my skin or have a penis like me really kind of outraged my sense of justice. Since then, I've got to tell you, fighting for a more just, equitable society has really been a central goal of mine throughout my life. Unfortunately, as we've seen of late, racism is far too prevalent still today in American society. I remember back during the Obama administration when people were talking about a post-racial society. Well, I think it became clear that that was not the case the second that Donald Trump was elected president. In fact, I would argue that it was the election of Barack Obama showing that a black man could become president of the United States that really was what energized the racist right, starting with the Tea Party, moving forward with the birther movement, and heading right into the Trump administration, and that's what we've been fighting with since then. We see new evidence of its rise in a couple of places now. The first one is, always a great place to see what the MAGA crowd are thinking, Fox News, where both Tommy Lauren, in that commentary you saw at the beginning of this video, and that superstar Tucker Carlson have both argued that Joe Biden is ignoring people's credentials in favor of their racial background. And yet, it seems they're all for favoring people based upon their racial background when they're white. I mean, here's the dirty secret about affirmative action. The only affirmative action we're opposed to is affirmative action for black people and women. We're perfectly happy to support affirmative action for white men. And if you want to see evidence of its success, just look at Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump. Two people I'm pretty sure would have gotten nowhere were it not for the fact that they were white men who gleefully engaged in locker room talk. I mean, that's the reality of why the right is so violently opposed to affirmative action. It's that it gives other people the chance to compete on a level playing field. I mean, the argument that the only qualified people to sit on the Supreme Court are white men is laughable. There are 179 Courts of Appeals judges in the United States. And that doesn't even account for the state Supreme Court justices. Any one of those judges and justices are equally qualified to sit on the Supreme Court as our current crop. And many of them, frankly, are more qualified than a number of them were when they were first elevated to the position. I mean, the people who are being talked about for this position include one judge who received her JD from Harvard Law, cum laude, another who is editor-in-chief of the Yale Law Review, both of whom clerked for Supreme Court justices and both of whom are currently sitting on federal courts of appeals. You also have a former Deputy Attorney General to the United States who argued 12 cases before the Supreme Court and has been on California State Supreme Court since 2014. The truth of the matter is these are impressive individuals no matter what the color of their skin. But the MAGA crowd and the Fox News commentators believe that they should be ignored because of the fact that they're black women and don't fit their image of what a Supreme Court justice looks like. They'd much rather have mediocrity as long as it comes wrapped in white skin and comes with a penis. And this is not some idle concern, by the way. We just heard that the Supreme Court is going to take up what we thought was settled law, which is affirmative action being used as a factor in the decision that schools use to admit people. As recently as 2016, the Supreme Court ruled that race could be a factor that schools consider in deciding their admissions because of the fact that they want to have a diverse student body. I mean, as I pointed out earlier in this video, I benefited from the fact that I went to a school with a diverse student body, and I got a lot out of it, being able to see the perspective of people different from me. But Edward Bloom, the head of Students for Fair Admissions, who considers himself a white rights activist. White rights activist? I mean, whites, I got news for you. We've got all the rights. The sole question is, are we going to be willing to share them with anybody who doesn't look like us? So with conservatives on a tear to try to destroy affirmative action, it just shows why there is a need for more diversity at the Supreme Court level. A few different perspectives are definitely what are needed there. I mean, society as a whole has changed. For the first time in our history, research has shown that the support for civil rights movements, like Black Lives Matter, was actually greater than the number of people opposed to it. The reason for that is because America as a whole is becoming more diverse, and with the advent of video cameras, especially video cameras that everybody's able to carry around in their pocket on a cell phone, we're able to see the way that police really treat black people. And for any empathetic individual who's concerned about justice, it's hard not to feel outraged when you see these videos. You could argue that the greatest enemy of racism in some ways has been the cell phone. My hope is that President Biden is going to appoint a strong black woman who's extremely well qualified to the Supreme Court, and that she will play a role in helping to bring the concerns that Americans across the country are increasingly starting to worry about into the hallowed halls of the Supreme Court. Hey, if you like that video, you might want to check out this one. It'll give you more ammunition to fight off the MAGA crowd and stand up for our small d and big D democratic values. I'll see you in the next video. In the meantime, let's hope for continued progress. Thank you.